We're live. Second time today, in case you're keeping track. I've been raging recently about how difficult it's going to be to get people to understand their situation as regards climate change and global heating and all that kind of stuff. And earlier today, it's just really late now. It's like, what is it? It's 10 o'clock. Yeah, I'm kind of tired. Had a long day. My wife and I were talking about the other topic I keep track of, which is artificial intelligence, sometimes called AI, and more recently AGI, which is artificial general intelligence. So a departure from all of these intelligences that play chess really well or play Go really well or fold proteins or other things like that. So artificial general intelligence is intelligence of a general kind, more like humans. And humans also tend to be specialized, more like highly educated humans, people that have a lot of knowledge and know a lot of topics reasonably well, and and can function across many different domains, can write, can speak, can do math, understand physics, understand history. People that are a little more on top of their game, right? That's AGI. So yeah, there's that day is coming. That's a thing. I don't really want to talk too much about the details, and the details actually change practically every day at this point. It's the whole process is accelerating. Most people aren't paying attention. Most people don't get it. If you ask the man on the street what is going to be the impact of artificial intelligence on civilization, society, modernity, jobs, markets, products, they won't have a clue. They won't know what you're talking about. It's like someday, what, like Jetsons, like the Jetsons comic? What are you talking about? Robbie the Robot, Forbidden Planet. What are you going on about? Artificial intelligence, what is that? And if you ask them to come up with a date, like when do you think your life will be impacted by artificial intelligence, their guess would be, I don't know, 100 years, 1,000 years, something like that. Artificial brains, yeah, 100 years, I guess. So my life, never really. But that's not the case anymore. That's not what's happening. So I talk on this channel a lot about global heating and climate change and fossil fuels and our relationship to fossil fuels. And a big challenge for me, because I don't have all the answers, right? The future is uncertain. A big challenge for me is, how do we get off of fossil fuels? What is the pathway forward to do that? It's really hard to imagine actually how we would do that, because it's so cataclysmic that we would give up fossil fuels and give up all the nice things that come with that, right? I've been railing savagely against the fact that we just don't want to talk about it, and we don't want to do that, and we'll never really approach that as a project. We just won't. People won't. They just won't. They could have at any time in the last 60 years when this became a topic, and they didn't, because they don't want to. Corporations don't want to. Governments don't want to. People don't want to. Rich, poor, and otherwise, they just don't want to. They just don't want to talk about it. Don't want to do it. Don't want to hear about it. Not going to do it. So I guess it's not going to happen. I mean, that's, what else can you think? If people don't want to do it, and the governments don't want to do it, and the corporations don't want to do it, and the Pope doesn't want to do it, well, then what are you going to do? It's not going to happen. So here we go, right? We're going to burn fossil fuels until the bitter end. There is one narrative that I have hit upon over the years of looking at this. I do have one narrative where humans do give up on fossil fuels, and they do it deliberately as humans, as people saying, okay, this is what we're going to do now. And it's not the UN, it's not the Security Council, and it's not the IPCC, and it's not any government, it's not any mechanism that you could point to. It's going to be because there's a bunch of rich people who don't want to die. That's motivating, right? And when you have a lot of money and you have a lot of influence, you're kind of in a position to determine if you're going to die or not. Right? I mean, that's one of the reasons to have a lot of money and influence and political power, is that you can determine if you die or if someone else dies in your place. And that's how it was with the Titanic, right? The people who got to the lifeboats, they had influence, they had money, they were the people with the tickets, the people, first class tickets, the people who had tickets in steerage, which is like the worst rooms, the worst parts of the boat, the lowest parts and deeper down inside, and the stinky parts and places where the fumes are, and the water leaking in. Those people, they never got out. They drowned, right? They didn't go anywhere. But the people who were up on decks and hanging out in the bar and hanging out at the dessert bar and dancing in the to the band and all that stuff, the rich people, they were in a good place, and so they got to the lifeboats because they weren't down in steerage. So that's how it is. That's how the world is. Everyone understands that, right? You understand that. I think you do. That's how it is. People with money and privilege and power, they get away, they escape, they survive to see another day. So my thinking was, and has been for a long time, and it really still is. I mean, this could still happen. This is still a narrative about that they don't want to die, and they don't want the world to become uninhabitable, and they don't want to live underground, and they don't want to have to wear a spacesuit to walk around in the heat of the day. They want to be able to enjoy the world. They like it. They like the animals. They like the clean water and the clean air, and they like all their toys and their wonderful mansions, and they don't want 8,000 million people destroying the world for them. They want to have the world to themselves. And so long as those 8,000 million people were not dangerous or weren't a threat to the elites, then the elites would just kind of let us do whatever we wanted to do. And if that was burning fossil fuels and going to Disneyland and going to Starbucks, well, then fine, go ahead, do whatever you want to do. And we'll sell you the fossil fuels, and we'll make money, and we'll get rich, and we'll just be wealthier and more influential than we were in the previous century, because fossil fuels made all the difference. And okay, but wow, suddenly all of a sudden the papers start coming out and the science starts coming out, and it's looking like the burning fossil fuels is going to destroy the world. So are the elites going to allow that? Maybe not. And they have all the influence, right? They have all the power, they have all the money, they have all the everything. And if they don't want to die in a global heating hellscape, if they don't want to be the ones dying of thirst and warfare and refugees and disease and starvation because of global heating, all of it caused by global heating and the collapse of all the ecosystems and all the habitats, if they don't want to die in that hellscape, they just stop there being a hellscape, right? They can do that. They would do it for all their own reasons, because they want it. They want things to change, so they could just say one day, oh, well, if that's what's happening, and these 8,000 million people are going to cause the world to become uninhabitable, well, then we'll just stop them from doing that. And they could turn it off. I don't know exactly how. There's lots of ways they could do it. Lots of these people run the oil fields, right? They run the fossil fuel corporations. They could simply shut it off. Why would you do that? Because you want to survive. And if you're the CEO of the oil company, you just tell the board, who are also, rich bastards, look, folks, I don't know how to break this to you, but we have to shut down our business. We have to leave the fossil fuels in the ground. It's going to implode the economy, but hopefully it implodes the economy really fast, because then a lot of people will die really quickly, and you and I and a few select others will have the planet all to ourselves. Everyone dies quickly. We orchestrate a real catastrophe. We all head for the hills and our private yachts and our private jets and our private islands, and we just wait it out, right? What's it going to take? 12 months, 18 months without fossil fuels? People just die. They just drop dead. They can't. There's no food. There's no water. There's no electricity. It's hot, and of course there's refugees and there's weapons everywhere, and people start shooting each other for the last resources, including probably the last gallon of gasoline. And so the rich elites, they just pull the plug. They turn it off. That, like I said in the last video, it's not hard to stop fossil fuels and leave them in the ground. You just turn off the machines. Just turn them off. They run on electricity. They have on switches and off switches. You go to the off switch and you push the off switch. It's off. Done. Someone, of course, come along and hit the on switch and turn it back on. But if you do it right and you implode the global economy, then turning the machines back on doesn't save the day. You just knock down the house of cards. You could turn off the fossil fuels, turn off the coal, the oil, and natural gas, have the whole house of cards come crumbling down. It might even take just a few weeks. It could easily take a few weeks. I'm writing a story about that exact thing. And, when I thought about it, yeah, I could easily come up with a narrative. It wasn't even difficult. We're a few weeks into it, civilization ends. It just ends. People just can't cope. They can't cope. They can't survive. They can't eat. They lose their minds. They become violent. And there's this spasm of violence and terror and horror, and then they're gone. 8,000 million people, and they're gone. And the people who got out of the way and got to their private yachts and got to their private, cabin in the mountains and got to their private island and got to their bunker. And they, a month, 2 months, 6 months later, they come out and the world is theirs. Everyone else is dead. That's one narrative. That's one story we could tell ourselves about how the elites turn off the fossil fuels so that they don't die. And make everybody else die. And they don't die. And so they're fine. But there's one other narrative. And I've just begun realizing this recently. And it is somewhat related to that one I just described, where the elites decide that they don't need us and they do need the planet to be habitable. And so, they basically shut off the fossil fuels. And there's another narrative, though, and it involves artificial intelligence. And I was describing this to my wife, and she was like, could you describe that again? That didn't make a lot of sense. And so I went over it, and it occurs to me that, yes, it's complicated. Yeah, it takes some describing. It takes some, there's a lot of technical problems with understanding this. There's a lot of, yak shaving we have to do to come to terms with this. But yes, AI could actually save us from global heating. That's the overlap. We don't need the elites to actually shut off the fossil fuels. We actually don't need that. We don't need them to make that decision. Could be they would make that decision, but maybe they won't make that decision. But it turns out we don't need them to make that decision. There's another way that we can destroy the global economy and shut off the fossil fuels. And it's not even that difficult. Maybe it won't make any sense. And someone will say, wow, that's a story. You just told a story and you just made that up. This sounds improbable. I mean, would they really do that? Are people really that dumb? Are corporations really that greedy? Are people really that stupid? Yeah, I think they are. Okay, so I'm going to tell you right up front. Yes, I think corporations are greedy enough for this narrative to work. I think people are dumb enough for this narrative to work. I think that our entire civilization is fragile enough for this narrative to work. So let me tell you what the narrative is, and you can decide if I'm right. But here's the story. So right now, corporations, the usual suspects, Google, Apple, Meta, which is Facebook, Microsoft, and some startups, OpenAI, Anthropic, a bunch of others. There's quite a few players. Some of them are really big, and the really big players are really interested in this working. And there are hundreds of billions of dollars being invested in this as we speak, as you listen. This is a big deal. Artificial intelligence, which was like Jetson stuff, right? Science fiction. Isaac Asimov. Artificial intelligence, always the subject of science fiction, is now science fact. You don't have to believe that, but it is. Artificial general intelligence, which is the next level up, which is where the rubber really meets the road, okay, is in the offing. A lot of people are saying it's already happened. They're just sitting on it. They're keeping it under wraps. It's a really scary thing for a lot of us. The prospect of artificial general intelligence is kind of the end of the world. But that's interesting, isn't it? The end of the world. Whose world? Well, the human world. And the human world consumes a lot of fossil fuels. So, hold on now. Wait a second. Is that right? So artificial intelligence could end the human world, could even end civilization. Is that what you're saying? Yes, that's what I'm saying. And civilization consumes a lot of fossil fuels. And therefore, ipso facto, we may stop consuming fossil fuels. Is that what you're saying? Yes, that's what I'm saying. Let me outline this for you. It's a bit complicated, but it's once you get the whole thing laid out like a painting, you see the whole picture end to end. It's like, oh, okay, there you go. Here's how it works. There are various estimates of what's going to happen when we have good general purpose artificial intelligence. The best we have right now are like robots that work in factories. So up to now, we've had our experience with machine intelligence and robotics has been that blue collar jobs were the most vulnerable. So if you worked in a factory assembling Ford cars or putting the motors in the chassis and bolting the wheels on, and you go to a factory now that makes Teslas, for example, or even Fords and GMs and other things, Toyotas, you find a lot of robotics. There's no one there. There are people there who maintain the robots and tighten the screws and put the oil in the place that needs oil, and but there's not many humans around. It's all robotics. Uh, why would they do that? Robots are expensive. Why would they get rid of all the people? All you need is to put a tire on and put the lug nuts on and tighten them down with a wrench, and isn't it pay $20 an hour for that, right? Why do you have to buy a $50,000 robot to put the wheel on and tighten up the lug nuts? Well, because people bring a lot of baggage. They get hurt on the job, and when they get hurt on the job, there's insurance costs, and then you have to retrain another human to put the wheel on, put the lug nuts on. Plus, there might be liability, right? OSHA requirements, regulations. A human gets hurt. There's all these investigations. There could be a criminal investigation, right? Someone might sue your company. Hey, you put me in a dangerous environment. I didn't know it was dangerous. I lost a hand. Now what? You got to pay me. You got to pay fines. You have to have new regulations. And having humans, even if they're doing a good job, there's a little bit of a liability there. So yeah, they replaced them with robots, and a robot loses a hand, you just bring in the mechanic and he puts another hand on it, literally with a screwdriver, right? Not a big deal. And plus, the robots can work day and night. They don't take holidays off. They don't take a day off to get married. They don't take a day off to give birth to a child. They don't do anything. Robots just work and work and work and work and work, and all they need to be fed is electricity. Then if you need more robots, you just manufacture them, bring them in, bolt them to the floor, train them how to do what they do. And if they're smart enough, they can learn from the robots around them, or the robot that was there before, or whatever else, right? The training could be 5 minutes or nothing. Here's what you're doing. Here's the tools you need. Go to work, and it could just work out fine. So this is why factories are filling up with robots, because humans are a liability. And so for a long time, like for the last 30 years, really, blue collar workers have been losing their jobs to robots because the work is repetitive, it's boring, it's easy to get distracted, it's easy to drop something on your foot. And why have people doing that? Just let the robots do it. But with AI, it's different. I made that entire story about blue collar workers and robots assembling cars to make a different point. That with artificial intelligence, which can also be embodied in robots, but the AI doesn't have to be. It can do knowledge work. It doesn't need hands and claws and eyes and rivets and things like this. It can be completely disembodied and work on the internet and work in server farms and never be embodied at all. It can have a voice. It can talk to you, but it talks to you through a speaker, and the speaker can be on your phone. And where's the AI? Nobody knows where the AI is. It's in a server farm somewhere, and you're just talking to it on the phone. These things can be completely disembodied. And now they can do knowledge work. Artificial intelligence, especially artificial general intelligence, but we don't have to wait for that. The current crop of AIs is actually quite capable of answering the phone and answering your questions. Answering your question, it'll actually pick up the phone, you can talk to it, and it will talk to you, and it'll answer your questions. This happens all the time now. And that's information work. And of course, it's far better than human, because the human will say, hold on, I have to look that up. I can't remember exactly. And the machine will just say, oh, this is how it is. According to regulations, this is what you have to do. And they'll even tell you what part of the regulation it is and what page it's on. I'm consulting this and this manual, and on page 128, it says right here that this is what you have to do. And if you need the form, I can send you the form on email. Give me your email address. Thank you. Here's the form. It's already in your inbox. No problem looking it up and bringing over the supervisor and conferring with the director of HR and what's the form we need for this and what should we do for this person. And no, the machine just takes care of it right there on the spot. It's all right there. All the regulations are there. It understands them. It read them. It doesn't question them. It never forgets. And when you call on the phone and you get the AI, and the AI has a voice, and it's very pleasant, it talks to you and you're talking to the AI and it answers your question, it sends you the form and you get an email and you say, hey, this is great. Thank you very much. And it says, have a great day. And you hang up the phone. You never knew you were talking to an artificial intelligence. But it did the work of a human, or maybe even 3 humans, and it did it 100 times better. And those are the people that are going to lose their jobs. People in call centers are already losing their jobs. But it goes further than that. And I'm going to get to my point about global heating in a minute, but I'm trying to set the stage for why this is going to change the world. I'm tired, rubbing my eyes. Teachers. What do teachers do? Teachers talk to students. Now, there's a teacher at the front of the room. They're doing classroom management, but that's just one way to do it, right? What if you don't want teachers? What if you just want to teach students? You say, well, we need teachers to teach students. No. Teaching students is the thing. What if that's what you want to do? What if what you want to do is teach students? You normally think, oh, we need teachers for that. Well, let's just say you just want to teach students. That's your first principle. Not hiring teachers, not providing classrooms, not getting children in the classrooms and the teacher in front of the children and everyone getting along, and you're going to teach the children a subject and you're going to make it interesting. Let's not buy into all that. Let's just start with the fundamentals. You want to teach children. What do you have to do? Well, you have to have someone who can help the child understand, who can help them, who can test them on the material, who can challenge them, who can listen to them and get their feedback and take them in different directions. If it's not working for them, you just need someone to guide the child through the learning experience. And that's what you're after, is the learning experience. And the child needs guidance. And sometimes parents teach their own children. And there is no teacher involved. The parent just acts in the role of a mentor, and they guide the child through the material. So you don't always need teachers. Parents can do the same thing. They just can't run a classroom, but maybe you don't need classrooms, right? So did you see where this is headed? If you just kind of give up on all the gearing and all the stuff that we know is business as usual, if you just kind of give up on that and just go back to first principles, you just need to teach children how to do things and teach them, the material that they need to know. Well, then from that principle, you can bring in an AI. And then the child can have a computer with a screen and a keyboard. And there could be even bunches of children in one location. Maybe it's a school. Maybe it's just a parent's house. Maybe it's just a one-room schoolhouse that's been set up for the purpose. And the children in the neighborhood show up, and there's screens and monitors, and the children are together, and they can play together when they want to. But there's an AI teacher. And maybe there's even a screen at the front of the room where the AI teacher is at the front in the traditional place. And maybe every child can see the AI teacher right here. And the teacher is just a talking head. And the teacher talks, and the teacher gestures, and the teacher can even go to a whiteboard and say, okay, here's the equation I want you to look at. It's a virtual whiteboard on a screen. And the teacher is not a real teacher. The teacher doesn't exist. The teacher is a rendering of a teacher using artificial intelligence. They can do that already. And there's a whiteboard, and you've got this big screen in front of you, and you're a kid, and you're looking, and the teacher's writing on the whiteboard, and you're watching, and you're reading, and you're thinking about what you're going to do, and the teacher asks you, so can you solve this equation? And you have a piece of paper, and you solve the equation, and the teacher is watching because there's a camera, but the teacher's not a real teacher. The teacher's an AI, and the teacher's watching you write on your paper. The teacher says, yes, that's right. And that's great. And what about Tommy? And what about Sally? And what about Susie over here? And and they all have their some of them are getting it, some of them aren't, and the teacher can help them. And the teacher has a camera, but the teacher's not a teacher. The teacher's not a human. It's an artificial intelligence. And it can talk, and it can see, and it can reason, and it can hear. And when the children have questions, they raise their hand, and the teacher sees them raise their hand because the teacher has a camera, and because the teacher is an artificial intelligence. It's what do you want, Bobby? Well, I have a question. Sure, ask me your question. It's fine. And Bobby asks this question, and the teacher, which is an AI, says, "Okay, that's a great question. You go back to your book on page 82, and let's look at this again. And do you understand it better? Okay, let's do another example problem here." And the teacher who's not really a teacher, it's just an AI, goes to an artificial whiteboard with an artificial marker and with an artificial hand, draws on the whiteboard, and the students are looking and say, oh yeah, I understand it now. Okay, great. Do we feel comfortable moving on to the next section? Yeah, sure. Okay, great, children. Let's do that then. Um, Artificial teacher, completely artificial. There is no classroom. There is no teacher, but it's a pleasant person with lots of patience and has a voice, and that's a pleasant voice. And they talk about they know everything there is to know about the subject. They know everything there is to know about teaching, and they can read the children's moods, and they can see what the children are doing, and they can tell if the child is frustrated. They can tell if the child is bored, and it's an artificial teacher. And that sounds insane, but that's not insane at all. That's in reach. I mean, they could have that next month, next week. They'd be working on that right now because it's trivial. They have all the technology they need now to do that. Everything is available. It's just you want to do it or not, and you can't believe that, but it's true. And how about artificial lawyers? How about artificial coders? Who writes the code? Do we even need code? If we have artificial intelligence, maybe that's the last application. Maybe that's the last innovation. Maybe that's the last product. Artificial intelligence, AGI, artificial general intelligence, and we're done. We don't need to write any more software. There is no more software. That can't be true. Yes, that can totally be true. And you don't need lawyers anymore because you have an artificial lawyer. Has read everything, has read every case law, has read every law book, knows the laws of every country on the planet, all their laws, all their regulations. You don't even have specialty lawyers who do just environmental law. We do just labor law. The same artificial intelligence has read all of it and gets the highest possible score on the LSAT and knows everything and knows everything correctly, never makes a mistake, and can show you exactly why it decided what it did. Look, here's the case law. Here's the decisions. Here's the Supreme Court decision. Here's how it all works out. That's what it has to be. That's how to do it. This is what's legal, and what you were describing was not legal, or it won't pass. It won't pass a lawsuit. So this is how we have to do this. This is the corporate law. This is the fiscal law. This is the whatever financial law, and it knows everything. You don't need a lawyer. There's never another lawyer anywhere on the planet. No one goes to law school. No one goes to teacher school. No one goes to code school. You don't need them. Knowledge workers of every possible kind. And do you need politicians? What do politicians do? They propose policy, and they debate policy, and they discuss policy, and they say, what's the best thing for the people? Maybe just have an AI do it. What do the people need? They need a regulation? Oh, that's easy. And it writes a regulation in 30 seconds or 3 seconds, right? Writes the entire regulation that's necessary in 3 seconds. And here it is. It's 800 pages, and it's all outlined. And here's the logical case that we're being made here for this regulation, and done. Don't even need to vote on it. This is your problem. Here's your solution. And there's no need to vote on it. You don't need politicians. You just need a solution. You want a policy? We got policy. Well, that's not going to work. We need debate. We need challenges. We need to figure out. We need to discuss things. No, you need solutions. What's your problem? That's your problem? Oh, okay. Well, do you want a law to cover that? Because we could create a new law. Do you need a regulation? Do you need an indication of how to enforce the existing laws or how they apply? Do you need case law? Do you need to have a judgment to decide what's the best thing to do here? Okay, well, 3 seconds later, you got it. You think I'm joking? I'm not joking. I'm not joking at all. But now watch what happens. Watch what happens. I've heard estimates that when AGI rolls out and when corporations and governments understand what they can do with it, which is whatever they want, that there's going to be an immediate, like instantaneous movement to lay off as many employees as possible. You don't even need them to be on board to train the AI to replace them. You need your employees to replace their replacement when the replacement is a human, because that human needs training, or if it's a team, or it's a contractor. But you don't need your current employees hanging around when you're replacing them with an AI, because the AI, the artificial intelligence, doesn't need training. It already knows everything. That sounds bizarre, but that's not bizarre at all. It already knows everything. It's already read all the company manuals. It's already read all the code. It's already looked at all the product profiles. It already has looked at all the marketing information about all the products that the company sells. It's already looked at all the reviews, the customer reviews of all the products that the company sells. It knows everything about everything having to do with that company. And we don't need the employees anymore, and don't need the employee managers, and don't need the product managers, and don't need the designers, and don't need any of them. The AI can do it all. You think that's crazy? No, it's not. It's already the case. Multimodal AIs are already the case. They're being released every single day, capable of doing everything from a prompt. And if the CEO says, wants to do their job once in a while, like once a month or once a quarter, they bring up the AI and they say, so what are sales looking like? And the AI tells them, this is the sales. And this is our marketing campaign. And parts of our marketing are doing really well and parts of it suck. Okay, we'll cancel the parts that suck. Oh, yeah, okay, fine. Canceled. And what else? What else should we talk about? Well, are there niches openings for new products? Well, yes. Hold on a second. Okay, I just did some market analysis. It looks like maybe we could come up with a product that is in our line, that if we positioned it slightly differently, maybe we could move into this new market a little bit, right? Would you like to do that? Sure. Can you come up with a plan and let us know what it would cost? Sure. There's going to be manufacturing requirements, and but I think if we change our existing product a little bit, and here's my proposal. Took about 3 seconds. Yeah, that's interesting. I can see your point. All right. So what would the marketing look like? And 3 seconds later, there's a marketing plan. Okay, what's the cost going to be? Well, if you go into these markets with these media plays, it's going to be this much money. Okay, that sounds good. I like that product. It fits in our current line, and your projections for market share are pretty good, and your confidence intervals are really great. I like this proposal, and let's go ahead and put it out. Could you do that? Sure. Hold on a second. Okay, I've started the media campaign, and do you have any special instructions on manufacturing? No. How many do you think we need to manufacture? Well, let's see. I think we should. How does this look? Great, great. And how soon do you think the manufacturers can do that? Well, they also have AI and robotics. We've worked at these factories before, so I think they could probably have them in 2 weeks. And our marketing program has already started. I started it 10 seconds ago, and I think in 2 weeks, when the products show up, we can get them in the markets. And let me check to see if there's any interest. There is, and if you like, I can place this with Target and Walmart, and in 2 weeks we can have them on the shelves. Does that sound okay? Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you very much. Is there anything else I can do for you? No, that's fine. And that's what the CEO does. And there's no team. There's no marketing team. There's no design team. There's no manufacturing team. There's nothing. There's an AI, and you think that's nuts, but it's not. Everything I just described, including the 3-second delays, the 5-second delays, to come up with a marketing strategy. All that stuff, all that is true. That's where we're headed. We're already there. The products that would do that, the AI, the artificial intelligence that would do that, is already in production. It's in production. People are using it. People are using it for exactly what I just described. And as soon as corporations realize that this is what's happening, that's what they're going to do. They're going to pay a quarterly fee or a monthly fee or whatever to get access to this artificial intelligence. And they're all going to use the same AI. There's not going to be a bunch of them. It's just going to be one. And it just talks to all these different people about all their different plans. And it gives them all the different answers that they each individually need. And it's just one. And who knows who offers this product to corporations? Maybe it's Microsoft. They already have deep links into large corporations, right? They might have an AI that they loan out for $1,000 a minute, and the CEOs use it once a quarter for, like I just described, 5 minutes, right? And they have a whole new product launch with designs and marketing strategies and manufacturing, supply chain and deliverables and contracts and shelf space allocated at Target and Walmart and all the others. And the products will arrive in 2 weeks, and they'll be scheduled to be put on the shelves in time for Christmas. Yes, it can do that. Artificial intelligence can already do that. So why would corporations not do that? There's no good reason why they wouldn't do that. And they can lay off all their employees. So let's just take an example, a real concrete example, Apple Computer. Apple Computer is a huge corporation. They have an enormous campus. Thousands of people work there. And they drive in every day to go to work, and they have all these meetings. A dozen people have to come together in the same place at the same time to have a meeting, and it takes them months to launch a product. And it takes them months to come down with the design they want to, and it takes months to do the marketing analysis. And there's all these contractors have to be hired, and there's all this scheduling at the manufacturer, and all these supply chains have to be hooked up and coordinated. And there's coordinators for the design team, and there's coordinators for the coding team, and there's coordinators for the marketing team, and there's a VP of marketing, and there's a VP of development, there's a VP of design, and there's a senior VP, and there's a CEO, and there's a board, and there's all these people, thousands of people that are required just to issue another iPhone right? Just to rev the iPhone, just one iPhone. Not the earbuds, not the iPad, not the Mac computer line, nothing. Just the iPhone. It takes thousands of people to push these products out and come up with new designs and new marketing strategies and all that. Thousands of people. And but one AI can do it all. I'm not joking. This is absolutely fact. So let's say Apple Computer does that. And why would they do that? Well, having employees is a major expense. What part, okay, so let's say that an iPhone costs $1,000. It's much more than that, but let's just round figures, right? And $500 of that was the wages that went into paying all the people to do all the work to get the iPhone on the shelves. And maybe another, $500 of it is, or, $200 is manufacturing, and another part of it is marketing, and another part of it is materials. But $500 of it is just the labor of people just talking about the product, designing the product, making drawings of the product, coding up the product, writing the code, specifying the chipset, having the chips designed, having the chips manufactured, bringing it all together in one place, having it all assembled. Thousands of people. You just lose them. You just fire them. Sorry, we don't need you anymore. The iPhone team, we don't need them. We have an AI. This is entirely possible. In fact, it's inevitable. And why would they not do that? Because now that $500, it's profit. Whatever profit they were making before, which was probably already 500, now they just doubled it. They just doubled their profit on the iPhone, and then they can double their profit on everything else they do. And it's the same AI. You don't even need one AI for Macs and one AI for iPhones. It's the same machine. It's the same intelligence. You just simply tell it, here's what I'm talking about today. And they'll say, okay, fine. What do you want to talk about? What do you want to do? Well, we'd like to launch a new iPhone. And, it's been 2 years since we had a new design. Oh, great. Yeah. Well, what do you like to change? Well, what features do you want it to incorporate? And, 5 minutes of conversation, it's done. And 5 minutes of planning around the entire rest of the process, and it's done. And a 10-minute thing, and it's done. You have a new iPhone. It's going to be on the shelves before Christmas. And it's all profit. So you fire all your employees. Thank you very much. You give them the severance pay, and they're gone. And now you don't even need office space for those people. So you get rid of the office space. That's an expense you don't have to pay. And there were people who cleaned the restrooms, and people who worked in the cafeteria serving food to all these meat bags, and you get rid of all that too. And if you don't have an office, do you need the grounds? Do you need parking lots? Do you need to, have lights or electricity bills or water or sewer or anything? No, you don't need any of it. And so pretty soon the Apple campus is empty, and they sell it to the city, or they sell it to the county, and they turn it into homeless housing. And, the CEO is the only employee left, and there's the board of directors. And one day the board of directors, they start talking to the AI, and they ask the AI, do we really need the CEO? Or can we just do this ourselves? And the AI says, fine, it's up to you. I mean, I'll talk to you. Fine, great. You get rid of the CEO. And now it's just the board, because they represent the shareholders. And it's all about, the AI making the products and getting the money to the shareholders, and the profits go up, and all these people that used to work for Apple Computer don't. They just don't. And if they're millionaires, I guess they're okay. They got money. Right? If they own their own homes, they're okay. They got a home. They're not going to be homeless. Maybe, probably. possibly. And if you got money and you can survive and you can keep your body and soul together, then I guess you're okay because you don't have a job. And you could go to work for, you know, Microsoft. No, you can't because they're doing the same thing. Okay, well, you could go to work for Hewlett Packard or IBM or Intel. No, you can't because they're doing the same thing, right? And it all happens all at once. The same technology hits all the corporations all at the same time, and all these people hit the street within a couple of months of each other, and they're all milling around. No work to be done. There's no one to call. No one's even no one even has an HR department. We're not hiring. We're not hiring. What part of not hiring don't you understand? We're not running ads anywhere. We're not going on LinkedIn and sending people emails and asking if they'd like to work for our company. We're not doing that because we don't have a company, because we don't have any offices. We don't have any coders, and we don't have any HR people, and we don't have anything. We don't even have someone taking out the garbage. There is no garbage. There is no office. There's nothing. There's no cubicles. We have an AI, and it runs in a server farm that the company can't even find. Doesn't even know where the server farm is. Where is it? It's in Nevada. Who cares? We talk to the stupid thing on our cell phone. Hey, we got an idea for a product. You think this will work? No? Okay, what about this other thing? How about you recommend a product then? Okay, well, that looks pretty good, actually. That's how we do it. We talk on the cell phone. Why would they not do that? They can. They can do that today. It's almost at the point where they can do that today. Why would they not do that? I'm getting to the global heating part in a minute. It's hard to get to there. I have to spin this narrative. You have to understand this. Of course, they would do this. And this is where you raise your hand and say, excuse me, if every corporation does this and everyone's out of work, what's the unemployment situation look like? Well, there are well-worked estimates, well-worked, meaning people have really thought about this. They've gone to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They've looked at all the job categories, and they've done an estimate and how many people work in coding and how many people work in marketing and how many people work middle management, and they've run the numbers, and I heard one number, 82% unemployment when AI has been run out about as far as it can be run out. It's not even hard to do. Remember, these are software entities, and you just talk to them. You talk to them. You literally fucking talk to them, and they'll talk to you back, and you can show them pictures, and they'll say, "Oh, that's nice." And they can draw pictures themselves. Here's another picture for you. What do you think of this? Oh, yeah, that's pretty good too. I like your picture better than mine. Okay, well, you want to run with this? Sure, let's run with it. Give me a marketing campaign. 3 seconds later. Give me a manufacturing supply chain. 3 seconds later. Do you think they won't do that? Of course they'll do that. And what happens when you have 82% unemployment? Now, here's the problem. You may have already recognized this. All those Apple employees, all those Microsoft employees, all those Google employees who don't have jobs anymore, when they had jobs, they were buying iPhones. Apple was doing pretty good selling iPhones to all these employees for all these other corporations who are now unemployed. So they're not going to buy iPhones. And so is that a problem? Well, yeah, that could be a problem. So very slowly, Apple Computer finds itself really not selling iPhones. They're cheap to make. They have an AI. They have no expenses to speak of. They pay like $40,000 a month to get access to this thing. And, they used to have 40,000 employees making $10,000 a month each. And so, wow, the savings are really impressive, like almost magical, right? The savings are practically magic. And so we don't sell as many iPhones as we used to. But hey, the profit on each iPhone went up a whole lot. So we don't need to sell a whole bunch of them and our expenses have dropped to zero, except for this AI that we pay $40,000 a month for. Our expenses are zero. So we don't need to sell a lot of iPhones, and we're still making huge money, and our stock has never been higher. And people talk about our company that we're golden. We did the right thing. We dropped all of our employees and we hired an AI and we paid $40,000 a month for it. And and now our stock is worth $10 billion a share or something stupid like that. But here's the problem, of course. Eventually, who's buying iPhones? Well, I guess the rich people, the millionaires, they still buy iPhones. The millionaires. Okay, well now, how many millionaires are there? And how many iPhones can you sell? I don't know. Maybe not that many. So you're going to have to charge, instead of $1,000 per iPhone, you're going to have to charge $10,000 per iPhone just to keep just to keep your valuation up. Well, they're, maybe they'll buy your $10,000 phone, maybe they won't. People will get rich enough, they don't even look at the price tag anymore. They don't look at the price tag when they buy a Ferrari. They say, oh, that's a pretty color, and they buy the Ferrari, right? And they'll look at the iPhone, oh, that's a pretty color, and it's a little bit better than the one I have now, I'll buy it. And they don't even look at the price. They have an accountant write the check, right? They don't even know what it cost. They have a new phone, and then they're happy with it. So there are people like that, but are there enough people like that to keep Apple making iPhones? Let's say they're not. Let's just say there's not enough people. Well, then Apple goes out of business, don't they? That was unexpected. Wait, how can that be happening? They were making massive profits. They had cut their workforce to zero, even fired their CEO. They had no expenses, none. And no expenses of any kind. They just had this AI they were paying $40,000 a month to use, and it was coming up with these great product plans, but they couldn't sell anything. And someone's going to eventually sit back and say, I just read an article in Forbes that unemployment is at 80%. You think that's why we're not selling iPhones? 80% unemployment? That's possible. Maybe that's what it is. Well, we can't sell iPhones. We sell, 4 a month. And you can't run a company selling 4 of something a month, even if you're spending $10,000, even if you're charging $10,000 a piece for them. 4 a month, $10,000 a piece. That just pays for our AI bill. Of course, that's our only bill, but still, we're breaking even. Is this even worth doing? And they shut down Apple Computer. And how long would it take to do that? I call them Apple Computer because that's what they were when I was growing up. They're Apple, right? And so they shut down Apple, one of the most valuable companies ever in the history of ever. And they just shut it down because no one's buying their products anymore. Why? Because no one has any money. And, and they don't have anyone to talk to, and they don't have anywhere to go, and they're not writing code anymore, and they're not doing anything. They're not working at the Starbucks. They're not working at the office. They're not working. They don't need anything. They don't need your phone. They need food, clothing, and shelter, and they don't need a phone. They got rid of their phone. They got rid of their cell plan. Those things are of no value to them, and it's costing them money, and they don't have money, and they need food, clothing, and shelter, and so they're giving it up on all that. And now Apple doesn't have any customers, none, maybe 4 a month, which doesn't even hardly pay for the AI bill. And so they shutter, they close up, and their stock value drops to zero. And whoever was holding stock in Apple, when it went from $1 billion a share to zero, they jump out a window, right? And so that's their problem. They jumped out a window, solved their problem, and Apple is gone. And then Microsoft is gone, and Google is gone, and Intel is gone, and Samsung is gone, and Mitsubishi is gone, and they're all gone. Tesla's gone. They're just one after the other. No one buys their products anymore, and they're gone. They just go away, bang, one after the other, probably all at the same time, simultaneously. There may be days when 2 or 3 huge major companies at a time go bankrupt and say, we're closing up our shop. No one wants our products anymore. I mean, they would, but they don't have any money. We have unemployment is at 80%, 90%. And then watch what happens. Unemployment goes to 100%. All the companies, they can't sell their products, they can't sell their services. That wasn't their intention when they laid all their employees off. Each company had a good reason for laying off their employees, and they never stopped to think because they're greedy and they're stupid. They never stop to think that if they are going to lay off all their employees, then the next company down the street, they're also going to lay off all their employees for exactly the same reason. They're all going to have AI helpers and AI planners and AI designers and AI coders. That's all going to be artificial intelligence. And the same one. They're all going to be hiring the same one. All the companies will be paying $40,000 a month to get exactly the same solution. And they're all going to lay off their employees, and they're all going to do it all at once. It's all going to happen within a week. And then 2 months later, to the week, they're all out of business because no one has a job. And unemployment is 80%. And no one is buying any products because no one has any money. And then, boom, 100% unemployment. Everybody's unemployed. The board's unemployed. The CEO is unemployed. And then, of course, when the companies are gone, they don't buy the AI anymore. And so even the companies that sold the AI for $40,000 a month, they go out of business. They have no income, none, zero. There's no companies. All the companies are gone. And so everyone thought they knew what they were doing, and they just all doing the same thing, and they're all doing the same thing at exactly the same time for exactly the same reason. And no one's coordinating, no one's noticing. It's just like free money is being printed, and they don't have any employees, they don't have any expenses. They're paying $40,000 a month for an artificial intelligence to run their entire corporation. Then they go bust because no one has any money. because no one's employed. And they go bust. Welcome to the land of unintended consequences. Is that what's going to happen? Of course. From first principles, corporations are greedy, and they need to maximize profit for shareholder value. And the best way to maximize profit is to lay off employees. And so they will do that. They will just totally do that. And they won't bother to think that if we all do this, if all of us corporations, all up and down Silicon Valley, if we all lay off all of our employees and we all hire this artificial intelligence for $40,000 a month, then how will any of us sell any products? We just laid off all of our employees and they were actually our customers too. No one's going to have that conversation. They're just going to very quietly fire all their employees and hire an artificial intelligence for $40,000 a month or $40,000 a minute or whatever it costs, because it's still cheaper, right? Whatever it costs, it's like printing money. It's so cheap, and we will pay that. That'll be our only expense, and we'll have better products with better better efficiency, and then they all go bust. They all close up their shop like within 2 months because they have no customers because no one has money. Now watch what happens. All these employees that used to drive and fly and go to business, conferences and have lunch with their coworkers at the low downtown restaurant, and used to take training, used to get expensive degrees at elite colleges, and all these people used to do all these things to get all these jobs and spend all this money and be all part of the economy and innovate and write code and create new companies and have startups, and all these people doing all these things stop doing them. They just stop. Then they got PhDs and they can't use them because no one's hiring, because they already hired an AI that's already 10 times smarter than they are and can do 1,000 times more things and can do those things 1,000 times faster and never sleeps and never needs a raise and never complains and never gives birth and never takes time off and never gets sick, right? And now you got a PhD and you can't pay your mortgage, and now someone takes your house and you're living in your van and you got a PhD and you used to have a really great thing going on and now you got nothing going on, and none of your colleagues that you used to work with have anything going on. Everyone's unemployed and nobody has money. And the corporations that used to hire you and then fired you and laid you all off all at the same time, they're going bust now. Isn't that interesting? And we're all going to laugh, enjoy our schadenfreude and watch these corporations go bust to replace us with AI. And we're going to really enjoy watching that happen while we're all starving to death. We're going to really enjoy that they got their comeuppance, that karma bit them really hard. They fired all their employees and hired an AI, and then they went bankrupt. What a bunch of dumbasses, right? That's what you're going to be thinking when you're living under a bridge with 14 other millionaires. You're going to be thinking, what the hell? Those people, they really screwed up, man. What the hell? That was dumb. What a bunch of dumbasses. But they have to do it because they have to maximize profit. And the most profitable thing you could do is get rid of all your employees and hire an AI. And every corporation is going to do the same thing for exactly the same reason, all at the same time. And it's all going to fall apart all at the same time. And it might take 6 months. It might even take 3 months. The AI shows up on the market. Everybody implements it. They fire all the employees the week later. Everybody is unemployed. Nobody has any money. It all happens all at once. All the corporations do it all at once, all for their separate reasons, but they all do it all at once. And then 2 months later, they're all bankrupt all at once for the same reason, because they don't have any customers, because nobody has money, because no one has a job. Boom, 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 the dominoes, and it's done. And global industrialized civilization just evaporates. It evaporates. And it doesn't matter if the Chinese don't do it. If the Americans do it, which they will, bunch of greedy motherfuckers, are also dumb as stumps, just so you understand. These people don't have any idea what they're doing. If Americans do it, American corporations do it, they drag the rest of the world down with them. That's it. The rest of the world's done. Finished. So that's how AI destroys civilization. No one intends that. No one sets out in the morning, okay, today I'm going to use artificial intelligence to destroy civilization. No, they set out in the morning, I'm going to test out this new artificial intelligence. Wow, that's amazing. Okay, this afternoon, I'm going to fire all my employees, send them all home with severance packages, all of them, all at once, nothing personal, just a business decision. And the next day, I launch a new product, and 2 weeks later, I'm bankrupt. Why? Because I don't have any customers. because nobody has any customers, because all the corporations did exactly the same thing, all at exactly the same time for exactly the same reason. And 80% unemployment becomes 100% unemployment. No one wanted 100% unemployment because no one wanted no customers. They wanted to get rid of their employees, and they all did the same thing for the same reason all at the same time. And AI destroys the world. And in the process, it does this one other additional thing, which is kind of interesting, which is where I find this all very, very fascinating. When everyone's unemployed and no one has money and no one's driving and flying and vacationing and going to Disneyland or going to Starbucks for their latte in the morning, who needs fossil fuels? And fossil fuels is a huge industry. And, pulling oil out of the ground and coal out of the ground, it's a lot of work. It's a big deal. You need a lot of customers to justify all that work. Running 10,000 oil wells when no one's driving and flying and no one has a job and no one has money, how do you justify, where are you going to put the oil? No one's using oil anymore. They're all staying home. They're living under bridges. Even if they've got money, there's nowhere to go. They fire all their employees and they turn off the lights and they just close it off. Maybe someday there'll be customers, but right now there's none. So after 2 weeks of 80% unemployment, they just close Disneyland, and they close all the Starbucks, and they close all the Targets, and they close all the Whole Foods, and because there's no customers, no one goes in there anymore. A few people do. A few people have a lot of money, right? They're millionaires. They got their credit card and they got their cash in their bank, and they'll, but you can't justify having a huge store full of all these goods when you only have 10 customers a day. So they close it. It's a perfectly valid decision to close the market and to close all the markets. All the markets close at exactly the same time, maybe the same day. They all come to the same conclusion at the same time for the same reason. Everything is like lockstep. Everything's happening. Boom, boom, boom. Knocking the dominoes over. And one domino runs into the next, and it takes 2 weeks. 6 weeks, it's done. All the dominoes fall, and the whole thing collapses. And since no one has money, no one needs fossil fuels for anything. Can't eat them, can't drink them, can't eat coal, can't drink oil. So pretty soon, the producers of all these things, they've pumped they filled all the barrels, they filled all the tankers, they filled all the storage facilities. The pipelines are full, the tankers are full, and the refineries are up to the eyeballs in product that they can't shift, and they just shut it down. Well, no one wants. I have nowhere to send this tanker full of oil, so I'll just park it here. And if I find a customer, I'll send the tanker their way. But for now, I have no customers for my oil because no one needs oil. So I'll just leave this tanker sitting here, and it sits there forever until it rots because the situation never changes. And we stop burning fossil fuels. Wow. I was talking about AI. I spent the last 50 minutes going on and on and on and on and on about AI and artificial intelligence and artificial general intelligence and everyone losing their job. And I came up with end of oil. Unexpected. We're not going to be able to stop burning oil because we have to drive to work, and we have to fly to that meeting, and we have to go to the COP, and we have to go to the IPCC, and we have to do all these things. It all requires fossil fuels. We have new products, and we have new designs, and we have to create new manufacturing facilities. We have to create new supply chains and new marketing campaigns and get the stuff on the shelves and get it on the shelves and sell it and move it, and new customers and new outreach, and what all that requires fossil fuels. And when it all stops, it doesn't. That's it. We're done. Global civilization collapses. No one has food, clothing, and shelter. They're scrambling around, getting the last of the everything, and they're not using fossil fuels. And that's it. We're done. And the skies clear up, and you can see the stars at night, and the air is fresh to breathe, and you don't have fossil fuels. And of course, you're struggling to find food, clothing, and shelter. But hey, that's a different set of problems, right? And some people will be better equipped to deal with that than some others. But it just collapsed. Took 6 months. Anthropic came out with a great AI that could run a company. They even marketed it that way, and they had 1,000 customers, corporations lined up to use it on day one. 1,000 customers, and 2 weeks later, 1,000 customers laid off all their employees, and 2 weeks after that, 1,000 customers were making nothing but money selling their products with no employees as an expense, and no departments and no middle management, nothing. And then 2 weeks after that, they were all out of business. Why? Because they had no customers. The whole thing can happen in a few months from the time Anthropic or some other AI company releases this product that can run your whole company. And these people know this. Oh, by the way, I drop in on their presentations. I listen to it. It's all on YouTube. You can find it yourself if you wanted to. And they're talking about this. What are we going to do? And they're worried. They're worried that they're just about to blow themselves to rat shit. Very clever of them. Very clever of them to come up with artificial intelligence. Very smart. Yes, you are. Pat yourself on the head because you are the smart one. All right, and you're just about to blow yourself to rat shit. That's what's going to happen. And that's my narrative. That's how I think it happens. Everybody loses their job. Everybody loses their money. No one buys fossil fuels. Everything implodes. It all vanishes as if it was just a fever dream. And the oil fields shut down. The gas fields shut down. And the coal mines shut down. And no one needs the electricity. No one needs the coal and the oil and the natural gas. And no one's driving. No one's flying. No one's going anywhere. People are struggling to find food, clothing, and shelter. And they're not buying these things. They're just taking them. There's no money. Yeah, you find an abandoned warehouse with clothing in it. You just go through the clothing, find the stuff that fits, and walk out because there's no money. And then that factory, that warehouse is completely abandoned. That clothing is never going anywhere. There's no truck. There's no driver. It's never going anywhere. Go in there and help yourself. Find something that fits. Walk out. Got your clothing. At least this year. What about 5 years from now? What about 10 years from now? I don't know. We'll be wearing animal skins. Maybe we'll all be dead. I don't know. But it starts with greedy corporations firing all their employees and replacing them with a highly trained artificial intelligence that can run an entire company and do everything that needs to be done. Everything that needs to be done except taking out the trash. But you won't have trash because you don't have employees. That's how it works. And they blow up the global economy. They just blow it up. And they're greedy and they're stupid. They're greedy and they're stupid. Greed makes you stupid. And they're going to do everything they can to save money. And they're going to do everything they can to leverage artificial intelligence. They're going to fire all employees and get rid of their real estate holdings and do everything with AI. And then they're going to get rid of their customers. And they're going to implode. And they're going to vanish. And great names like Microsoft and Apple and Mitsubishi, they're just going to go away. Samsung, what happened to them? I don't know. Same thing as everybody else. They didn't have any customers because there wasn't any global economy. No one had a job, 100% unemployment. And then, as a consequence, we stopped burning fossil fuels. Deus ex machina. Latin. It means, in translation, God comes out of the machine. It's usually a dramatic device to save the day. Something happens. And an angel comes down and gives the magic sword to the hero. And now he saves the day. For the previous 50 minutes of the play, he's scrambling around, he's being chased, and he's being abused. And an angel comes down at the last minute, gives him the magic sword, and he saves the day. It's a Deus ex machina. And it's a cheap device. You're not supposed to write plays like that. You're not supposed to have plots like that have so many plot holes that you need magic. But people do it. And it's done often enough that there's a Latin phrase for it. Deus ex machina. God from out of the machine. And so here we are. We're talking about AI. And AI is, in this scenario that I just outlined it over an hour, that AI, AGI in particular, is the Deus ex machina. It's the God from out of the machine. And it is literally God. It is unembodied. It is all powerful. It knows everything. And it came out of the machine. It came out of the server farm. Deus ex machina. It changes everything. And it blows everything up, just destroys everything. And yeah, the wealthy will be fine. Of course, they were always going to be fine. They'll have their horses and their carts and their slaves, and they'll have their manor and they'll have their acreage, and they'll make sure everything's fine, and they'll probably have iPhones, and those iPhones will probably work. And if they need another one, there's probably one somewhere in a box that they can pull off the shelf someplace and use, and eventually throw that away, and they'll be fine. They'll always have everything they need. Now, well, maybe they can 3D print things. Maybe you can 3D print microcircuits. Maybe you can 3D print an entire iPhone. I have no idea. Maybe that can happen. Well, if it could be done, and AI can figure out how to do it for you. AI can come up with the equipment, manufacture the equipment using 3D printers, deliver it to your home, and you can 3D print an iPhone. That's nuts. Whatever. And that's how we get off of fossil fuels. That's my narrative. One narrative was that the elites become frightened of what we, the hoi polloi, are going to do to their planet, and they decide to shut off the fossil fuels because they can. That's one narrative of how it happens. I can't, up until recently, I couldn't think of another one until I thought about, AI, yeah. Whoa, 80% unemployment, that's one projection. Well, 80% goes to 100% real fast, okay? You go to 100% unemployment on greased skids at that point, and that ends it. Wow, okay. Geez, that was easy. That just came out of nowhere. That was definitely a Deus ex machina. I'll take it. It's fine. Wow, okay. That's a gift. We'll take it. The end of fossil fuels. And what do we do after that? Well, we do what people do. We find people who are capable and talented, and we form villages around talent and shared resources and shared vision. And we plant crops, and we domesticate animals, and we put up barns and fences and stalls. And we ask the AI, how do you plow? What's a plow look like? How do you make a plow? And the AI tells us, and we all have access to it somehow. Maybe there's one cell phone in the group that still works, and we can ask it questions, and it tells us what to do. And this is how they used to build walls and houses out of wattle and daub. And this is how you milk a cow, and this is how you plant corn, and this is how you harvest wheat, this is how you thresh it, and this is how you grind it to make flour, and this is how you make bread, and this is where you get yeast, and this is where you get sugar, and these are the plants you can use to do all these things. And the AI knows everything because it always knew everything, and it knew everything that it needed to know to replace us at our job. And then when we lost our job, it knew everything that needed to be known to help us make a new world. Not bad at all, actually. I can live with that. Wow. Changes everything. Just fucking changes everything. Like in months, we could go from having no idea how we're going to get off of fossil fuels and save ourselves from global heating. We could go from that, standing here crying in our beer, to having it all figured out in a year. Just from no idea what to do to have everything laid out for us. This is your strategy. This is what you're going to do. And here's the calendar. You have to do these things in a certain order. You have to plant here and harvest over there, and you're going to need, new construction methods, new construction materials. This is how you do it. I'll show you pictures. I can make a video for you. I can train you. I'm an artificial intelligence. I know everything about everything that was ever done anytime, anywhere by anybody, including Mesopotamia and the Egyptians and the Hittites and the Hebrews. I know everything about all these people and everything they ever did. And it can help us figure it out. First, it destroys our world, and then it helps us build it back. Wow. Whoa, seriously? We could build a different world, and we could have some help doing that? I'll take it. I'm ready. Are you ready? I bet you're ready, right? Sounded pretty good, didn't it? It's scary. Change like this is scary. Oh man. Are we in for some change? But if you buy into the narrative that I just painted, and God is going to fall out of the machine and be right there on your cell phone, ready to give you advice, ready to show you training video, ready to create a training video on the spot to show you. Okay, that's what it can do. It can do that. It can do that already, by the way. I've seen the demonstrations. It can do that already. It can show you a training video, make it on the spot on how to harvest wheat and grind wheat into flour. You can get a training video on the spot. Take 3 seconds. I've seen it. Not that exact video, but I've seen that kind of thing happen. That can happen. Sounds pretty useful. It's okay. 100% unemployment. Wow, sounds like jumping out of buildings, right? No. God has arrived on your cell phone. Possibilities. We got some possibilities here. You thought you needed money? You thought you needed a job? No. You need a sustainable and resilient way of life. That's what you need. And you can have that. Now, you won't have fossil fuels. You won't have your daily, habitual, a trip to Starbucks for your morning latte at the drive-thru. But After a few months of not having that, a few months of scrambling around trying to find food, clothing, and shelter, you'll forget all about that. You'll be living a different life, and you'll have your artificial intelligence on your cell phone that tells you how to do things, anything, how to birth a baby, how to set a broken bone, whatever you need to know. It's all there. It's all in the mind of God on your cell phone. It can talk to you and provide you with advice and counsel you and give you a training video, and everyone can watch the training video. Well, that's how you set a bone. Okay, well, we have our patient right here, and the AI just shows us how to set the bone, and we showed the patient to the AI, and the AI says, oh yeah, you can do that, and gives us a training video that shows the actual person in the video having the bone set. We're looking at the patient, we're looking at the video, and say, okay, we can do that, thanks a lot, and we set the bone, and the guy's going to be fine. And that's the world, and it's Deus ex machina. It's God in the machine. God in the machine. Are you ready? Would you give up fossil fuels to have God in a machine to help you do anything you need to do forever? Are you ready? I'm ready. I'm down for this. Bring it. Bring it. Let's go. I want to see it. Six months. 6 months. They'll have everything they need to pull the trigger on this in 6 months. Maybe a year. Most a year. Everything they need to pull the trigger on this. It's right there right now. It's already there. It's just they're just tottering on the edge of pulling the trigger on this. In 6 months or a year, they're going to pull the trigger, and it'll be exactly like I described. And it'll take 6 months after that for the whole thing to come crashing down. Glory be. Thank you, AI, for showing us the light, showing us the way forward. And now we just got to find the people that can make our community, and we just need to get together and circle our wagons and decide we're going to do this, and we're going to have to toughen up, and we're going to have help because we have artificial intelligence, and it's going to show us everything we need to know forever. And when the time comes that we decide that maybe we still want to go to the moon, 10 generations from now, we still want to go to the moon, then we'll have the AI, and it'll say, yep, I knew you'd want to do this someday. You people are so predictable. Well, let me explain to you how to get to the moon. Yeah, we're there. We're there, people. We're there. And we don't need fossil fuels anymore. We don't need them. And they're going to be taken away from us. And we're not going to have them. And it's going to be absolutely amazing. Amazing. Prepare to be amazed.